Am I the a-hole for saying my mom's husband isn't my dad and saying I never got to meet my dad? This whole situation kind of blew up, and I genuinely don't know if I'm the bad guy here or just caught in something no one ever prepared me for. So here's some background. I'm a 17-year-old girl, and my biological dad died before I was born. My mom was still pregnant with me. Growing up, my mom always made sure I knew about him. She told me stories about their relationship, how excited he was when he found out he was going to be a dad, and she gave me the name he had picked out for a daughter. We even have little traditions to remember him, like lighting a candle on his birthday and visiting his favorite hiking spot when we can. Even though I never got to meet him, I still feel this strong emotional connection to him. He is my dad. His side of the family stayed in my life. I spent summers with my grandparents, and they traveled to see me when possible. They shared pictures, old home videos, and stories that made me feel like I was part of him in some way. So I've never felt like I was missing a dad. I just had a different kind of connection than most people. When I was 13, my mom introduced me to a man named James. They'd been dating for a while before she brought him into my life. He seemed nice enough, but I was still grieving the idea that I'd never truly know my dad, so I wasn't exactly open to a new father figure. James eventually moved in, and they got married when I was 14. To me, James was always just James. He was kind, helped around the house, and tried to connect with me, but I never saw him as a dad. It wasn't that I disliked him. He just wasn't that person in my life. And honestly, I thought he understood that. I didn't realize it was such a big deal to him. Fast forward to last month. We were on a family vacation and met another family at the resort, parents with two teens about my age. We had dinner with them one night, and while chatting with the other kids, they asked why I called James by his first name. I just answered honestly, "Oh, he's my mom's husband." They asked if he wasn't my dad, and I said, "No, my dad died before I was born. I never got to meet him." It wasn't a big deal to me. It was just the truth. Apparently, James didn't take it that way. Later that night, back at our hotel, my mom pulled me aside. She looked upset and asked why I would say those things during dinner. I had no idea what she was talking about at first, so she clarified how hurt James looked when I said he wasn't my dad and how painful it must have been for him to hear me say I never got to meet my dad. I was confused. I told her I wasn't trying to be cruel or hurtful. I was just answering a question. She got emotional and said James has always seen me as his daughter and hoped I'd one day see him as my dad. She said he's always been there, school plays, birthdays, doctor appointments, and that he's earned the title. She said I was closing myself off to the idea of having a real father figure and maybe even sabotaging my own happiness. I told her I didn't see it that way. I wasn't rejecting James. I just never felt that father-daughter bond with him. I wasn't missing something or trying to deny myself anything. I already had a dad, just not in the physical sense. She looked disappointed and walked away. A few days after we got back, they both sat me down. James talked about how much he's tried over the years to be a parent to me and how painful it was to hear me refer to him as not my dad in front of strangers. He said even if he's not my biological dad, he hoped he could at least be the dad in my life. My mom jumped in and said I could have just let those kids assume he was my dad instead of correcting them. That I didn't have to dredge up the fact that I never met my father. I told James the first was sorry that what I said hurt him, but I was just being truthful. I said I wasn't trying to embarrass or reject him. I just answered from the heart. My mom snapped and said that didn't sound like a real apology and that I clearly wasn't sorry for what I said, just that his feelings were hurt. So I clarified, James isn't my dad, and I never got to meet my dad. That's just the truth. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Since then, things have been strained. James has been quiet around me and seems to sulk a lot. My mom keeps bringing it up 5 different times in the last couple weeks. Each time, she says I need to be more compassionate. That maybe I don't understand how painful it is for James to love me like a daughter and not be accepted in return. But what am I supposed to do? Lie to make him feel better? Pretend I feel something I don't? I never asked him to be my dad. I never said I wanted a new one. I've always been respectful. I just never gave him that title, and now it feels like they want to force it on me. So, am I the a-hole for saying James isn't my dad and that I never met my dad? Was I wrong for being honest?